You're welcome to The Brief, where we bring you insights into key developments and activities that will shape the new week. From tomorrow, Monday, it will mark a new month of June 2020, preparing a build-up to the second half of the year. And let's give you the highlights and stories that we have at the moment. Video conferencing provider Zoom plans to strengthen encryption of video calls hosted by paying clients and institutions such as schools, but not by users of its free consumer accounts, a company official said over the weekend. The company, whose business has boomed with the coronavirus pandemic, discussed the move on a call with civil liberties groups and child sex abuse fighters on Thursday last week, as well as Zoom security consultant Alex Stamos, who confirmed this development on Friday. In an interview, Mr. Stamos said the plan was subject to change and it was not yet clear which, if any, non-profits or other users such as political dissidents might qualify for accounts allowing more SIM-secured video meetings. He added that a combination of technological, safety and business factors went into the plan, which drew mixed reactions from privacy advocates. Zoom has attracted millions of free and paying customers amid the pandemic, in part because users could join a meeting, something that now happens 300 million times a day without registering. But that has allowed opportunities for troublemakers to slip into meetings, sometimes after pretending to be invitees. Jenny Gebhardt, a researcher with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who was on the call over the last week, said she hoped Zoom would change course and offer protected video more widely. But John Callas, a tech fellow of the American Civil Liberties Union, said the strategy seemed a reasonable compromise. Safety experts and law enforcement have warned that sexual predators and other criminals are increasingly using encrypted communications to avoid detection. Alphabet Incorporated's Google on Saturday said it has postponed next week's planned unveiling of the beta version of its latest Android 11 mobile operating system in light of protests and unrest in the United States. According to a Google statement, "We are excited to tell you more about Android 11, but now is not the time to celebrate." This was posted on its Android developers website. The event was originally scheduled to take place virtually on Wednesday, June 3rd, according to the website in a tweet, which said that it will announce more details on the new version of Android soon. Without specifying any new dates, protests have spread across the United States of America over the killing of Mr. George Floyd, a Minneapolis black man who died after being pinned by the neck under a white police officer's knee. Still in the US, investors are taking a closer look at the market's consumer discretionary companies as a reopening of the US economy fuels hopes of turnaround for some of the sector's hardest hit names. Many companies in the sector have been battered by the countrywide coronavirus-fueled lockdowns that have weighed on growth and damaged retail spending over the last several months, though the stocks of a few like Amazon have soared. A gradual lifting of lockdowns in some states have stirred hopes for a bounce back for the retailers that make up much of the sector. Some investors, however, said it will be months later before consumers return to their previous shopping habits, making it unlikely that companies will see a pickup in revenues in the near term. Firms ranging from middle-income retailers such as Gap Incorporated and American Eagle Outfitters Incorporated to high-end destinations like Tiffany & Co. and Vail Resorts Incorporated are expected to report results in the week ahead. This particular group is full of landmines, said Jamie Cox, managing partner for Harris Financial Group. There is not going to be a lot of investor follow-through until we get some certainty with that future revenue prospects are going to be. And over the weekend, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the reconstitution of the board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation after the expiration of the term of the board members appointed in 2016. Members of the new board are Mr. Mohammed Lawal from the Northwest, Alhaji Tajuddin Umar from Northeast, Alhaji Adamu Mahmood Attar from North Central, Senator Magnus Abe from South-South, Dr. Stephen Dike from Southeast, and Chief Pius Akinyelure from Southwest. The new board will be in place for the next 3 years. The Finance Act 2019 introduced some amendments to the stamp duties. The Federal Inland Revenue Service issued an information circular in this regard, highlighting the analysis and the key matters below. The circular reproduces some of the amendments to the SDA, such as the inclusion of electronic documents as instruments liable to stamp duties, electronic stamping, and denoting of documents and updates to the definition of certain terms. In the circular from the AFIRS, it clarifies that stamp duties apply on written, printed, or electronic dutiable documents and receipts, and provides examples such as emails, short message service, instant messaging, documents on websites or cloud-based platforms, POS receipts, and automated teller machines and printouts. The circular highlights that instruments can be stamped by employing a die impressed on an instrument as an adhesive stamp, affixing printed adhesive stamps issued by the FIRS, direct electronic printing or impression on the instrument, electronic tagging, issuance of stamp duty certificates, or any other form of acknowledgement of payment for stamp duties adopted by the FIRS. The FIRS states that instruments executed outside Nigeria but received in Nigeria are to be stamped within the period allowed in the SDA. For electronic documents received in Nigeria, this includes where the document is accessed in or from Nigeria, stored in a device outside Nigeria, which is brought into Nigeria, or stored on a device in Nigeria. In line with the amended SDA, a 50 Naira stamp duty is payable on any bank deposit or transfer of 10,000 Naira or more, except deposits or transfers between accounts maintained by the same person in the same bank. Stamp duties on eligible transactions involving companies or between companies and individuals should be paid to the FIRS. On the other hand, duties on transactions between individuals should be payable to the relevant state's Inland Revenue Service at rates to be agreed with the federal government. The circular prescribes the use of the FIRS e-portal for the payment of stamp duties. The FIRS has also developed an application programming interface for corporate bodies and persons upon request, presumably for automated deduction and remittance of stamp duties. Also, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, has issued the Company Income Tax Significant Economic Presence Order 2020 (SEP) to complement the 2019 Finance Act. The SEP order sets out the conditions under which non-resident companies that provide digital service or technical professional management or consultancy services to Nigerian customers from outside Nigeria will be deemed to have a taxable nexus and therefore be liable to tax in Nigeria. The SEP order provides that if Nigeria enters into any multilateral agreement or consensus arrangement to address the tax challenges arising from the digitalization of the economy, the provisions of that agreement or arrangement will apply and effectively override the provisions of the SEP order with respect to the NRC that is covered by that agreement or arrangement. It also follows, based on treaty supremacy, that NRCs that operate from a country that has a double tax treaty, DTT, with Nigeria will not be affected by the SEP order until changes are made to the DTT. The implications for tax compliance administration include some of the affected NRCs will be required to register for income taxes in Nigeria and file annual tax returns even if they do not have a physical presence in Nigeria. Nigerian resident businesses, as well as the fixed basis of non-resident companies that have transactions with the affected NRCs, will also be required to account for the withholding tax on some of the payments made to these NRCs. The SEP order, however, raises a number of practical concerns from a compliance and tax administration perspective. Profit attribution. The SEP order does not provide any guidance on how the profits attributable to the Nigerian SEP of affected NRCs will be determined. This will create uncertainties for the NRCs who need to comply. Enforcement and compliance. The FIRS may struggle to enforce compliance without international consensus, as a number of the companies affected may be outside the territorial reach of the FIRS. This problem will also be exacerbated where the NRCs sell their products and services directly to the final consumers in Nigeria. NRCs that do not have any form of presence in Nigeria may also struggle to comply. Nigeria has joined other countries that have taken unilateral action to tax the digital economy. The SEP order makes it clear that the physical presence will no longer be required for certain categories of remote services to be taxable. Non-resident companies must therefore assess how the rules affect them and take steps to comply where necessary. This will also apply to Nigerian resident companies that transact with the affected non-residents. In order to improve compliance and reduce uncertainty for taxpayers, The FIRS is encouraged to introduce simplified registration and compliance process for affected NRCs. The FIRS will also need to provide clarity on the basis by which profits will be attributed to the SCPs of the NRCs. Let's go on to key events and activities to watch in the new week. We expect the National Bureau of Statistics will release some key economic and data reports this week, which WebTV will monitor and bring to you in the course of the week. Lafarge Africa plc will hold its virtual annual general meeting by proxy at the Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos, on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, in collaboration with Milken Institute, is set to host the inaugural edition of a webinar series on sustainable capital markets for West Africa on Friday, 5th of June 2020 by 2:30 p.m. The webinar theme, Fundamentals of Developing Green Bond Markets, is supported by the Securities and Exchange Commission. That'll be all for this edition of The Brief. You can join our website, www.prochange.com, to get all our market reports, news stories, and analysis. You can also follow our social media screens displayed for you. Till we come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.